Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Fon Quinter, welcoming you to the 6:30 p.m. edition of News on My Media Prime Television. We're streaming live from our headquarters in Douala, Cameroon's economic capital. Begin today's edition of news in the Northwest region, where Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Dianguti, has enjoined inhabitants of that region to desist from sitting on the fence, shun fear, and get back to their normal daily activities. The call was made on day 2 of his visit to the Northwest region. Northwest correspondent Charles Ngwa tells us more about Prime Minister's two-week visit in the Northwest region of the country. His report.
Day 2 of the Prime Minister, Chief Dr. Joseph Diangute's visit to follow up implementations of the resolution of the Major National Dialogue at the Grandstand Commercial Avenue. The Prime Minister urged the people of the region to shun fear and get back to normal life as before, refrain from separatist leaders' action exploiting them to undermine Republican institutions, while requested the people of the Northwest to stop sitting on the fence.
We must tell them forthright, we must stop sitting on the fence because we are destroying our regions.
13 young men who described themselves as separatist fighters led by styled name General Scatter announced to the crowd they've dropped their weapons. The Prime Minister described the initiative as a welcoming news to his peace mission to the region, invited the youths, mothers, clergy, and elites of the Northwest to help save the lives of those in the bushes.
You and I, those children in the bushes did not fall from the sky. They were born by mothers who are sitting here or who are listening to me today. They were born by parents who are with us. And the President has asked me to tell you to challenge the entire elite of the Northwest region. And when I talk of elite, I'm not talking about the people with ties. All of us are elites.
Various speakers at the Commercial Avenue Grandstand event joined their voices to that of the PM, reminding the people of moves made by government to redress the grievances that led to the ongoing socio-political unrest. In simple terms, the Prime Minister also announced works on the Bamenda Stadium and the much talk about Bamenda Babaju Road and Bamenda City Ring Road will soon take off, with the World Bank finally giving its clearance. He will be meeting stakeholders and persons that matter before he leaves the region.
We stay in the Northwest region, where inhabitants of Ludonga Manton Division are still counting their losses after unknown men invaded the village and razed their houses. The unknown men reportedly arrested some locals, stole animals, all happening at a time Prime Minister, Head of Government Dr. Joseph Dianguti is preaching peace in the region. Nora Kakebi tells us more in the following report.
Inhabitants of Lu Village, Ndu Subdivision, Donga Mountain Division in the Northwest region are still recovering from shock after they witnessed their houses being set ablaze by some unknown individuals. Reports gathered revealed that the armed men burnt down houses randomly and also destroyed over 32 glasses on the windows of the Baptist Church in Lu Village. While they burnt down houses, gunshots were being fired indiscriminately as they moved courageously and fearlessly in some neighborhoods across the village. The unidentified men got into the village where they spent the night, carrying out atrocious acts. They stole goats, slaughtered and prepared the goats, and intimidated the villagers. The men equally broke into some houses and stole bikes, making away with some cash. Some live goats were carried on the stolen bikes, as well as 5 villagers who had been arrested but were later released when the men crossed the river separating Lo and Taku, a neighboring village. The men succeeded to make their way finally with 2 goats and 2 bikes as their booty, while leaving a 15-year-old teenage girl who was raped as she woke up early to do her chores. It should be noted that these atrocities are happening at a time when the Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Dianguti, is on a peace mission to the Northwest region, calling on all to embrace peace and move forward.
The motorcycle riders in Lumungo Division, Littoral region of Cameroon, today stormed the office of the mayor protesting against a decision by municipal authorities imposing an identification fee on them. The over 50 riders got into the council premises and forcefully took back 2 bikes confiscated by municipal authorities. Details right ahead. Motorcycle riders in Lumungo Division, Littoral region of Cameroon, today took to the streets protesting against a decision by municipal authorities imposing an identification tax of 17,500 francs on them. The motorcycle riders, who decided to park their bikes, stormed the office of the mayor of Lum to take back 2 motorcycles, forcefully taken from their colleagues for not paying these taxes.
We don't confuse one and 2 Cameroon for this. We don't have 2 Cameroon. We don't pay tax for Tombe. We pay impôt laboratoire, global tax for Tombe. We come again for Lum. They impose we again, so we still pay another one for Lum. I don't know 1 or 2 Cameroon. They say Cameroon be indivisible. But when we come for Lum, when a littoral, they say we'll pay again another impôt. Because they don't tell us Cameroon, they know we divide that. We there for Southwest, but not so on Cameroon. We not be pay book for Tombe. Come for Lum, they tell us it not be valid. It be very wrong.
These other motorcycle rider pours out this frustration.
Hey, you don't come out. They say we pay global tax for council. We not enough to pay global tax for inside council. But if you talk say with the head header for pay tax for inside day, we not enough. He say go convoke we get number 2 time. We try to negotiate for see how we go do. We wait the convocation. Tire, we not see. We don't go for council. For try to see the general say they. We wait now today. He don't send the people for upside. Say they can't cash we for global tax. We don't have to pay global tax. But he can for negotiate for you. Because you don't negotiate with we not going to pay no nothing.
The riders, however, succeeded in their quest to recover the 2 bikes earlier confiscated by municipal authorities, not without confrontation. The protest this 7th day of October left many inhabitants of Lum stranded as they faced difficulties moving from one part of the town to another. The World Health Organization today released the first approved vaccine against malaria and recommended it be administered widely across Africa, especially to children who are the most affected. Ngwa with us more on the following report.
Potentially marking a major advance in the fight against malaria, which takes the life of more than 386,000 Africans yearly. The first approved malaria vaccine by the World Health Organization is recommended highly for African children to reduce the sub-Saharan African prevalent disease. With about 800,000 doses administered in some African countries, an estimated 2.3 million doses of the mosquito-raised vaccine have been given in Ghana, Malawi, Kenya, after several clinical trials in different African countries since 2019.
Today, WHO is recommending the broad use of the world's first malaria vaccine. This recommendation is based on results from an ongoing pilot program in Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi that has reached more than 800,000 children since 2019. This long-awaited malaria vaccine is a breakthrough for science, child health, and malaria control. Using this vaccine in addition to existing tools to prevent malaria could save tens of thousands of young lives.
For decades, the malaria parasite have perplexed scientists, health professionals, and organizations who have been working to get an approved vaccine against the tropical disease borne by a mosquito bite, which takes the life of a child every 2 minutes.
Every year, hundreds of millions of people fall ill and hundreds of thousands die, sadly, due to this preventable and treatable disease. Every 2 minutes, a child under 5 dies of malaria. Today's recommendation therefore offers a glimmer of hope for the continent. We expect many more African children will be protected from malaria and grow into healthy and productive adults.
Worthy of note is the fact that
vaccination against malaria does not replace or reduce the need for other measures, including bed nets or seeking care for fever.
According to the World Health Organization director for the Global Malaria Program, the vaccine is safe and effective.
We are reassured on the good safety profile of this vaccine. This is a safe and efficacious vaccine that can contribute to save lives, prevent disease.
Coming at a time when the world is battling heads-on with the COVID-19 pandemic, the malaria vaccine is indeed a breakthrough for science, giving hope to Africans and the world at large after about 50 years of research.
Bokengo was reporting there. Now in what's making news on the African continent, Dolingande visited Tanzania, South Africa, Egypt, and brought back the following.
We begin today's roundup as to what's making headline news on the African continent with the Tanzanian novelist Abdulrazak Gunna, who has been awarded the 2021 Nobel Prize for Literature. Announcing him as winner this Thursday, the Swedish Academy praised him for his uncompromising and compassionate penetration of the effects of colonialism. The prize has been awarded by the Swedish Academy and is worth 10 million Swedish crowns, an equivalent of $1.14 million or 840,000 euros. Meanwhile, the coffin of an ancient Egyptian priest uncovered last year is on public display for the first time at the Dubai World Expo. The casket of priest Samtik was among 27 colored wooden coffins that were recently discovered in Saqqara, a district south of Cairo known for its vast ancient burial ground of pharaohs and royals. And on to something more catchy, Ndakasi, a beloved mountain gorilla who went viral after posing for a relaxed selfie with rangers, has died after a long illness at 14. She passed away in the arms of one of the rangers who rescued her as a baby, Andrew Boma, at an orphanage in Africa's oldest national park, Virunga, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And in politics, Burkina Faso's President Roch Marc Christian Karobe has reshuffled the country's military leadership amid rising terrorist attacks. In a statement read on state TV, the president named Colonel Major Ouedraogo Guibert as the new head of the Air Force. Burkina Faso has seen an escalation in jihadist violence since 2015, which has displaced more than 1 million people. And finally, events have been held in South Africa to mark the 90th birthday of the Nobel Peace Prize winner Desmond Tutu. He has attended a service at the St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town, where he served as the country's first black archbishop from the 1980s.
Dolingande with what's making news on the African continent. More news on our foreign page. Eileen Summer visited Pakistan, the United Kingdom and Germany and brought back the following.
We begin our foreign news today in Pakistan, where at least 20 people have lost their lives after an earthquake struck the country's southern province of Balochistan early this morning. According to the authorities, the death toll may increase as many people were killed when structures collapsed. Reports say many of the dead were women and children. Meanwhile, the U.S. Geological Survey say it was a 5.9 magnitude quake that struck at a shallow depth of 9 kilometers. Local officials said at least 150 others are thought to have been injured, with several of them rushed to hospital in critical condition. Meantime, local media reported that military doctors and paramedics have reached earthquake-hit areas to assist with relief efforts, while a number of critically injured people were air evacuated to Quetta, the provincial capital, in Pakistan Army helicopters. Elsewhere in the UK, commemorations have been held to mark the 20th anniversary of the start of the UK military operations in Afghanistan. At exactly 11 o'clock Afghan time, wreaths were laid in the UK in remembrance of 4,507 British personnel killed there. It should be recalled, UK troops left Afghanistan at the end of August 2021, bringing an end to the 20-year war. The war in Afghanistan began on October 7, 2021, with American-led coalition airstrikes against airports and terrorist training camps in response to the 11 September terror attacks in the U.S. Pipe Major Colonel Sergeant Peter Grant, who led the procession in Staffordshire, said the service was an important moment to reflect on what had happened in the Arab country Afghanistan. While in Germany, the authorities say 8 women who had joined the so-called Islamic State IS group and 23 children from a camp in northern Syria have been repatriated. They were brought back in a joint operation with Denmark, which repatriated 3 women and 14 children. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas said the women were in custody and face a criminal investigation. For the record, hundreds of Europeans who joined IS are in Kurdish-run camps in northern Syria. Reports say they were moved there along with thousands of others who were displaced after IS was declared territorially defeated in Iraq and Syria in March 2019. However, Mr. Maas said he was happy that the women and children were back in Germany, but that the mothers will have to answer to their acts.
Eileen Sama's report concludes today's edition of Prime News on My Media Prime Television. I have been Fon Quinter. Prime comes up. Stay tuned to more programs on The African. Have a great night.